Tonight on the Fanatic Forum, we're going to slip through time as we discuss season 2 of Loki. And there's a lot going on with this one. We're going to talk about all that right after this. Happy Friday and welcome to the Fanatic Forum. I'm your Prime Fanatic and host, George Buehler. So glad y'all can join us tonight. We have got ourselves a good show here. We have got lots of Loki discussion being done here tonight, so I've got a special guest on for that. But first, of course, we've got the Marvels out in the theaters today. So hope you guys get to enjoy that. The wife and I, we're going to go see that literally after the show tonight. So yes, looking forward to that. But yeah, of course, all kinds of other stuff out to look forward to. Yeah, so much to talk about with Loki tonight. I also, if you guys didn't get to catch it last night, I was had the absolute pleasure of being on the Smokes and Road Beers podcast with my buddies Seth and Bill. So check that out on their page. I linked it on all the Fanatic Forum stuff here. So yeah, we had ourselves a hoot of a time. FYI, this is a not safe for work show, so there is language involved. So if you're listening with children, I wouldn't recommend listening around them because there is some cursing involved. But we still had a blast. All things nerd discussion. So yeah, good stuff here. Anywho, let's bring on our guest here. One of my personal Fanatic Forum favorites here, and a beloved person among the Cereal Box Network here, Diamond Dave Mattingly. How you doing, sir?
Wonderful. I'm safe for work. So, no accounting for taste, I guess. You can always count on me, everybody. Exactly. I'm going to class up this joint.
Hey, you know what? We need a little bit of that. Yeah, it was unusual to get to do a podcast and then like, oh yeah, you can curse on this show. I'm like, okay. The training wheels are off. So
yeah. I got rid of my vulgarity habit back when I was a DJ on the air. Whatever infraction comes with a fine, you learn really quickly to control the language.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I think I was, in my TV days, I think I was okay. I don't think I slipped up. Now, when I was running audio for the morning show, my most infamous one, though, that I played a Black Eyed Peas song to close out the show because somebody said, "Oh, play this Black Eyed Peas song." Like, okay, whatever, grumble, but sure, I played it.
Yeah.
And I thought I had the clean version. It literally said clean version, but basically the S word still got out in the chorus. And yeah, it was just like plain as day, almost literally like the last thing you heard before the show went off the air. It's literally like 10 minutes after the show ended, my boss is, calling us in the control room, like, someone called about this thing. I was like, no one called. You just heard it when you came in. I was like, yeah, I thought I had the claim. It was like, but nothing ever happened about it. It's still funny. It was like, yeah, spent years running that and never had anything slip out. And then I get one thing, and it's the Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah.
Dang you, Fergie.
Yep. Besides, it's so much fun to go with all the euphemisms. My favorite is Rassin' Frassin' from Yosemite Sam.
There you go. Yeah.
That's my most common frustrated phrase is Rassin' Frassin'.
Yeah, I know. It's just some good old-fashioned Southern garble there is, or good old-fashioned pioneer gibberish.
Yep.
So glad the kids are here to enjoy this. Well, as always on the Fanatic Forum here, we have got some new comics to talk about here. So I've got a little bit of a pile here. I had a light week this week here, so I was able to read everything in a couple of days. But one thing, I got a couple offerings from DC, a couple from Marvel, and then, of course, one independent. But one I thought was a lot of fun. Again, another piece of history here. All-Star Comics #3, the winter issue, which is the first appearance of the Justice Society of America, their very first meeting here. So all these heroes have been established in the DC universe. You got like the Flash, the Spectre, Dr. Fate, Hawkman, Green Lantern. Those are the most recognizable ones. Then, of course, you got like Atom Smasher, the Sandman here by my finger, and Hourman down there. Uh, so, of course, all these guys were well established throughout the DC throughout their own various either their own comics or anthology books that they appeared in. But this is a fun issue because literally they're all kind of meeting for the first time, having dinner together, and then discussing their own exploits. So you get like one bridging story, which kind of covers everything of them sitting around having dinner, and then literally you get all these, I guess it's what 9 mini stories of everybody just doing their own thing. So how they got to this point and whatnot. So, but again, this is a facsimile reprint, so it's got all the ads and everything in here, and there's a disclaimer talking about there's some kind of some racial stuff in here, but this was 1940, so some of that speech was very commonplace. So.
Do they even have letters from the editor and stuff along with the old ads and things? Okay,
everything that would have been in this comic in 1940 is in here. Sweet. So that's why I love that. DC is really starting to dig into the archives, like they did All American Comics 16, which is the first Green Lantern, because they're on a big Golden Age kick right now. Just because Jeff Johns is writing the Justice Society of American comic, and it's really good. So it's striking up a lot of interest in those characters once again.
Yeah, I might be an issue or so behind on that one, but it was great seeing Detective Chimp on a team again.
Yeah. So it's fun because right now you're getting kind of like a mixture of Justice Society members. You've got guys that date back to the Golden Age. You've got people from a little more modern era, kind of like a second, third generation, and then you've got like this new generation that includes Stargirl, and then of course she, in a miniseries that she was in, found all these lost sidekicks of the Golden Age, and some of them were even like children of the heroes themselves. And she found them all like this. They were marooned on this island or something, and so now they're all back reunited with their heroes because it was kind of like with the Sentry. In Marvel, everybody forgot who these people were.
He had been there the whole time, but everybody,
basically, it was
all these sidekicks that they'd forgotten they even had, and as soon as they saw them, the memories all came flooding back. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, stuff like and the one that was the most surprising was Jay Garrick. Like his daughter was his sidekick, and he forgot he had a daughter.
Yeah,
so it's like, wow, that's some good magic there. God, you had a child. Your wife, who's knows you're a superhero, knows her daughter was also a superhero, also forgot that she had a child, which is even more interesting because especially a woman would know.
What are these baby booties up on the mantle? I don't get it. Where do they come from?
Oh, it's basically it would be photo albums with blank photos in it. There'd be like a certain point after the wedding. It's like, wait a minute, what? Why were all these no photos after the wedding?
Yeah.
Next one here. This is a really good one here. Batman 139. This is starting a whole new era for Batman. This is after the Gotham War storyline. Batman is basically literally cut off from everything. There is no more money, no more Batcave, no more Bat family. He is solo. He is living in an apartment that's not. He's been living in a brownstone that's been kind of acting as a secondary Batcave. He doesn't even have that place anymore. It got destroyed. So he's literally living in an apartment with the most bare bones. Like he's listening to a police scanner to find out what stuff's going on. All the while, though, his kind of mental failsafe that he put in years ago. This is kind of going back to the Grant Morrison run. In the early 2000s, the Zur-In-R persona is creeping up even further to the point where maybe he's starting to take over. So Bruce has been through a lot recently, and he's starting to lose it, and Zur-In-R is taking advantage of that.
Does he have a
So,
robot hand in this one, or is that some of the other Batman?
oh yeah, no, he's
okay.
Bruce.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a storyline, a couple stories back, where Bruce was in like an alternate universe where Bruce had died, so there was no Batman, and so he kind of became the Batman and kind of interacted with other characters. But during a fight, he literally got his hand chopped off, and so when he came back, he got a actually when he was still there, he got the hand built. So he's kind of a lot of the Bat family now know about it, but he kind of kept it really hush hush when he first came back, and people were surprised that he didn't say, "Oh, hey, I lost a hand, and now it's a robot hand with all these fun gadgets and extra features." So, yeah. Do have a couple of comments here. Dave Mattingly, you're commenting in the show you're already in.
Yeah.
Time keeps on slipping into the Loki. Oh my god. Steve Miller is going to sue.
I'll have to find me first.
Jacob Houck, how you doing, sir? He said he'd love to have a live-action Justice Society movie. Yeah, totally. Make an alternate universe 1950s period piece. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I dig that.
Yeah, it was really nice seeing Atom Smasher and some of the others in the Black Adam movie.
Yeah, I'd say the best iteration of something anything close to kind of golden age we've seen was the Stargirl TV show, which was very good, but did a lot of bridging the gap. A new generation of golden age based heroes, legacy heroes, then also paying homage to the ones that came before. Yeah, and of course you had the Injustice Society involved as a lot of the bad guys. So really well done. Unfortunately, the change in the guard of the CW, what killed the show, it had nothing to do with the actual quality of it, because it was definitely one of the better CW shows for real.
I liked how they updated Midnight's, Mr. Midnight's. How can I become a brilliant tactician? Oh, well, because the goggles. They talk to you and teach you things. Interesting way to do that.
I know, really cool. Yeah, and they basically kind of have essentially like the ghost of the original Dr. Midnight trapped in another dimension, communicating with you and being able to somewhat help while you're trying to help him get back. Well, he was trapped in the dark. He's trapped in some other alternate realm. So that's what it was. But yeah,
how many seasons did Stargirl go?
3, I believe.
Okay, I haven't seen the 3rd season.
Yeah, I didn't get to finish it yet. I finished seasons 1 and 2, and I was part of the way through the 3rd season, but I haven't got to finish it yet. But like I say, they knew they were ending the show, so I think they did get a somewhat of a wrap up, even though they could have gone on a little bit longer, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Couple of I got actually 3 number ones here from Marvel, but one of my absolute favorites this week here. Another chapter in the What If Dark miniseries they've been doing, but this is the Tomb of Dracula. As anybody who's watched this show knows, I love me some Marvel horror. And what better way to revive Tomb of Dracula, if for one issue, than to bring Marv Wolfman to write this book?
Yep.
Thank you, Marvel. It would have been if Gene Colan could have been here to draw it, that would have been even more perfect. But yeah, it was David Cutler and Scott Hanna were the artists on this one here. But still enjoyed it. Kind of the front cover is a little indicative of what the art looks like there. So good horror gothic art there. But yeah, they did their own thing as opposed to kind of doing any kind of like Gene Colan tribute or whatnot. But basically the story is essentially what if Blade became a full-fledged vampire, not like just a half-breed. Like what if Dracula had turned him? So yeah, definitely. Of course, the What If Dark. What If traditionally takes a darker turn anyway. The Dark series turns up even further, so you can guarantee it's going to have a bad ending for your titular hero, but it's nonetheless, it's just still great what if fun there. So yeah, good old Blade versus Dracula stuff. I just and of course all the other Tomb of Dracula cast, if you're familiar with them, your Quincy Harker, Frank Drake, Rachel Van Helsing, they're all in there too. So yeah, love it.
Another cool Marvel horror thing recently is Crypt of Shadows. Did you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Are they doing more? I've only seen the first issue.
Basically, they're doing one shots each Halloween. So they did one last year.
Oh, okay.
And then they did one this year. So
Yeah, okay.
yeah. Of course, last year's big intro was introducing Bloodline, Blade's daughter, and then she got a mini series, kicked off with that. This one, you get some stories, but the bigger arcing thing was more focused on our host himself, which is the vampiric.
The vampire ghost brother of Stephen Strange, who's been trapped in a mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, Victor Strange trapped in. Well, he may not be trapped anymore.
He almost certainly is not. Yeah.
Yeah. So he may be loose. So we'll see. Maybe what happens further in the pages of Doctor Strange. So I haven't seen anything pop up just yet, but yeah, the moose is loose. Yep. An interesting number one. I was a little tentative about this one here, but I still enjoyed this. I'm intrigued for more. But a new Punisher number one, and this is not Frank Castle, folks. I think his name's Ed Garrison, I think is what his name is, but he is a former SHIELD agent, part of the what is known as the Gravedigger Squad, which basically is like Black Ops kind of stuff. So he's used to basically being involved in the firefights and all kinds of violence and such like that. And the funny thing is that he's not really doing a Punisher thing, but his storyline is kind of very similar to Frank Castle's. But obviously someone is toying with him. Someone is, trying to make him a fugitive and framing him for the deaths of his family. So kind of some interesting twists there. But he does have his own microchip, another former SHIELD tech, and she's basically his jack of all trades. But the interesting thing is that the skull is a bit of an accident because that is a SHIELD ballistic suit that he's wearing. So those are just like some kind of, plates, whatever else that just light up there. Mm-hmm. And then that's his ammo belt. So it actually makes the skull. So everybody thinks Frank Castle is back as the Punisher, but
funny.
So he may use that to his advantage later on. We shall see. Another good one I'm very intrigued to get into further here, but Christopher Cantwell, who I've really enjoyed his writing. He did the Kang miniseries last year. 2 years ago, he did the Doom miniseries, which was excellent. Now he's tackling Thanos, Return of the Mad Titan, because Thanos has been MIA for a while in the Marvel Universe. He's been gone for a few years. So, of course, he was trapped in Amber for a long time after the Infinity storyline, and then he got better, and something else happened. I can't remember what it was. I think it was in the pages of Silver Surfer or Guardians. Yeah. He fought the Guardians, got thrown into some kind of wormhole or whatever else, and we haven't seen him since. And that was, 2 Guardians volumes ago, I think. So it's been a couple years. But this is following a young woman who is on Earth, looks a little bit goth, but seems to be a nice lady. And for some reason, Thanos is on Earth looking for her. I got a feeling that this may very well be that Death has taken a human form and is hiding out on Earth from Thanos, and Mad Boyfriend wants his squeeze back. And he's not afraid to take an entire city up in space to get his squeeze back. So, yeah. Sacramento got relocated temporarily. So a lot happens in this first issue here. But yeah, they don't make it clear that this may be Death, but when I first read it and saw her, I'm like, that's Death. That's got to be Death. She's just hiding out on Earth. So, but yeah, first issue is really good. Like I said, I love Christopher Cantwell stuff anyway. So, enjoy. Oh, got one.
Death is doing the Sandman thing, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. She's literally taking a holiday, so she's pulling a Brad Pitt.
Yep.
Seth Moore from Smokes and Road Beers. What's up, brother? He's saying, "What's up, fellas? A little late, but I'm here. Not a problem." We were just talking about just a little bit ago at the top of the show about being on Smokes and Road Beers last night. So check out that episode if you haven't already. Last new book here to talk about. This is, of course, from getting an Indies here from Image and Skybound. This is Transformers issue 2. If you are a Transformers fan, especially an 80s fan, this is a love letter to that era. This is a whole new era of Transformers that Robert Kirkman has kicked off, called the Energon Universe. It is a shared universe of the Transformers and G.I. Joe. This universe started in the Void Rivals series, which kind of had some interesting Transformers cameos in it. And then now we're in issue 2 of the Transformers book. As of yet, we have not seen any glimpse of G.I. Joe just yet. This issue changes that. I won't give away what we see and who we see, but we finally get our first connection. The new G.I. Joe book with Larry Hama coming back to the book, starting at issue 301, continuing his run from IDW, releases this coming Wednesday. So can't wait for that. Plus, they're doing a reprint of the original #1 from Marvel, apparently with some restored pages that Marvel had cut apparently back in the day for whatever reason, or just whatever not. So apparently these have been restored. So it's like Herb Trimpe art and Larry Hama's original writing. So I'm very curious to see what that's all about. So. But yeah, so we've got the real G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, which again will keep going what Larry had in the IDW run, and then eventually I think that will connect into the Energon universe. Then in December, I think it's a couple days after Christmas, we've got the Duke miniseries, which definitely connects into the Energon universe. That's kind of like there's a Duke series, like I just mentioned, and then a Cobra Commander series coming in January. Both of those are our entry points for G.I. Joe into the Energon universe. So basically, if you've never read a Joe comic, if you're not as familiar with either of those characters or the G.I. Joe Cobra universe, those are your entry points in there. And then throw Transformers in there. It's nothing but 80s goodness. So, yeah, fun stuff. So, but yeah, so there's a lot more to come from that, but I'm enjoying it. So, Seth Moore's popping up here, says, man, Kirkman will have a big pair of shoes to fill coming off the legendary IDW Transformers stuff. He's off to a good start. I will, yeah, there was definitely some good IDW Transformer stuff for sure, but yeah, he's off to a good start here. Kirkman is he's writing the Void Rivals book, but he's kind of like the head right now of everything. So the Transformers book for Image is being written by Daniel Warren Johnson, and then he does some of the art. And who else? Mike Spicer is also doing the art. So Daniel Warren Johnson, he's probably about close to my age, or actually he's a little younger, I think. So he definitely grew up with G1 Transformers. So this looks and feels, basically it's better than having an IDW Saturday Morning Adventures series. This is better than that because you're literally getting almost like a new iteration of the 80s cartoon in the comic book. So yeah, just great stuff for Transformers fans, and a fun throwback for 80s nostalgists as well. All right, well, we're going to take a brief break here to acknowledge our sponsor, Comic Books for Kids, and then we come back. Dave, we got some tripping to do. Time tripping. Be right back.
For all time.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.
That was perfect, too. Having for all time right before you on the gun. Man, that was perfect. Perfect timing, sir. Oh, all right. So, FYI, folks, if you have not watched Loki Season 2, I know some people haven't watched it, you want to binge the whole thing, or if you've not watched the finale, we're about to spoil the heck out of it, so you may want to pause, watch, and then come back. Or if you've watched and then you're good to go, please join us with your comments because there's a lot to discuss here about old Loki Season 2 here. I love this poster.
We are made out of spoilers here.
Oh, yes, we sure are. So basically, let's kind of just start from the beginning of the series here. We kind of left off where we were, where Loki has returned from his, I guess, confrontation with He Who Remains. Sylvie kills him, and he comes back, and the TVA has changed. Everything is Kang, and no one knows who Loki is. This is, of course, quickly resolved because he slips literally very quickly into another timeline where he's back where everybody remembers him. But nonetheless, things
it
are
looked
still
a lot like it looked like the glitching from Spider-Verse.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, but yeah, it was great. But I love the time slipping stuff here when he because that was a frequent thing they were doing in this whole throughout this whole season. But what was it? The one episode where he sees Mobius in kind of his natural habitat and timeline, and he's like in a parking lot with a waving tube man, and literally like he's coming in waving too. I love that.
Yeah, he is his own wacky waving floatable arms guy.
Yes, he sure is. But we get a new addition to this season of Loki, and an extremely welcome addition with Ki-Hu Kwan playing the Ouroboros or OB, which is kind of their, I guess, resident fix-it guy, tech expert, engineer, whatever you want to call him. But you find out that he literally wrote the handbook that the TVA is based on. But then you also find out that a variant of Kang named Victor Timely also wrote that book, but then he inspired Ouroboros to read. So it literally is a snake that's eating itself here with the TVA handbook here between Victor Timely and Ouroboros. So.
Yeah, Obi is a great cross between James Bond's Q, Scotty from Star Trek, and MacGyver.
Yes. Yeah, he's definitely the know-it-all of the group because, when Loki gets in his normal timeline, Mobius, it takes him down to see OB, and basically he's like, "Have you ever seen this before?" He's like, "Yeah." "Can you fix it?" "No." But of course, as the season goes on, Loki learns to control this, and now Loki has himself a new power where he can time travel. He can slip in and out. He can move in and throughout the timeline, which, especially in the finale, uses to his great advantage. But yeah, apparently centuries later, he is now a super scientist.
I do love OB when we first see him introduced. He's very smart, but also he is extremely adaptable.
Yeah.
He says you've got about an hour when he's talking about going to extract the temporal aura, and then something hits the window. You've got about 5 minits without any beats in between.
I know. Yeah, nothing really phases him. It's like even like when it's all is lost, everything fails. Like, no, it doesn't work. We're gonna die. Bye. And everybody turns to spaghetti basically when you get wiped from the timeline. So
now we have a new word added to our vocabulary. Everybody knows what spaghettification is.
Spaghettification, yes.
And it was really funny since he did play a short round to hear him say temporal loom over and over, which sounds a whole lot like Temple of Doom.
I never thought of that. That's great. That's great. Oh, love it. And interestingly enough, this season of Loki, we did, of course, get one post-credit scene, but it was in the first episode, and that's all we got.
There was post-credit audio for, I think, episode 5.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, there was. Yeah. A little bit of audio in 5. Yeah. But you kind of almost needed that too. Yeah. But we get one definite scene at the end of episode 1. Basically, as we get through the entire first episode, we got most of our TVA cast with the exception of Ravonna Renslayer, no Miss Minutes, and of course no Kang anything yet. But more importantly, no Sylvie. And then we find out where Sylvie is. She's hiding out in her own little time stream, working at a McDonald's, and so in her little happy place. So.
Living in apocalypse after apocalypse, on the run for your life, as boring as possible, probably sounds really attractive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine so. It's when she's like you said, with the lifetime she's lived. So and she was just it was perfect. Everything was normal, peaceful. People came there and ate and enjoyed themselves, and there you go. And then what was it like a 1982 McDonald's where she
Like
was? So
82, yeah.
it's like chicken nuggets where I think were they even introduced yet? No, yeah, they were.
They,
Yeah,
they, they were the brand new item,
yeah,
as the younger kids said, and some people
yeah,
were. And I thought it was an industry match that could have been a really young Mobius, but it was not.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
He had the look. It could have been a young Mobius.
That could have been. Yeah, that's true. One thing I definitely loved, we saw this. We'd seen kind of little glimpses of this throughout season 1 of Loki, but we finally got a scene in the cafeteria, which is basically an automat that is filled with nothing but key lime pie.
Well, I assume
So
there's an automat for every occasion. They just happened to find the key lime pie automat.
that's a good point. Yeah, there may be different automats. Like you have to go on like a different floor of the TVA to get to the cherry pie automat. But I wonder if
they had the hot cocoa machine that also made soup as one of its options.
Yeah, I saw that. Now, I wonder if they also made the coffee the way that the automats used to make it, because there was a specific kind of like a French roast, that kind of like a New Orleans style French roast, and they would put like a little shot of cream would hit right at the end if you wanted cream in your coffee, right at the end of the coffee pour. But if you enjoy the automat or the idea of kind of this throwback to you know all American, everybody included dining of the kind of the early early 20th century. Of course, it died out. Kind of, I guess the last one closed in the 90s, I think. But yeah, there's a documentary on HBO.
The whole decor of the TVA is very late 50s, kind of an Art Deco style, which was really similar, especially pneumatic tubes, to the Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
Now that Loki is over, I want to go back and watch Umbrella Academy to compare and contrast.
That's a good point. Yeah, I need to go. I've always had people tell me, "Yeah, you need to watch Umbrella Academy," and I'm like, I know, I've seen the previews, so it looks cool, but it's like,
it is really good.
Yeah, I'm so there's a lot of stuff I have seen, but there's other things like I haven't got around to, and there's a lot of series that I haven't got. Like movies, but. Yeah, I'm good with catching up on movies, but sometimes series not so much. So, like, I'm still watching first season of Lock and Key. So, and I haven't got to like Sweet Tooth yet. So, and I heard the Sweet Tooth adaptation was really good. So, anyway, but like I said, I love the automat. There's a documentary on HBO or Max or whatever they call it now. That basically a young filmmaker, she did a whole documentary about it. And the great thing is, like, Mel Brooks is all over it, because Mel Brooks, if you know anything about him, he grew up going to automats in his early years, as a comedy writer before he started directing. He went to the automat for breakfast and lunch all the time. So he's got a love for the automat, but it's great because they talk to like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Colin Powell, other mayors and governors of cities in Philadelphia, and basically there were people in Philadelphia and New York who grew up there, because that was where the automats were. They were only in New York and Philadelphia, though they had multiple locations in those cities. They were just exclusive to those cities.
Can you put a link to the documentary in the show notes?
Yeah, I'll have to do that. So, like I said, it's on Max, but yeah, it's just called the Automat. But yeah, it's just a delightful documentary about a little piece of history, and there's some documentaries that I watch. I'm a big doc fan, and so there's sometimes like one will grab a hold of me, and I watch that like several times. I've watched this one like 3 times. I think it only came out like last year. So, but good stuff. But yeah, so I appreciated definitely seeing the Automat in the series there. So
yeah. Now that we're done, I also want to go back and watch the out credits for first season to see how many of those things were really second season Easter eggs and references and things.
Yeah, and of course, one thing we were talking about before the show started, a good point you made up is like how much of this was shot, like especially the scenes with that we saw in the finale with He Who Remains, how much that was shot while they were still doing the first season. It's like was there how much of a plan in place was there for Loki? Did they know they were going to do 2 seasons? Did they know this was going to be it and whatever else? So yeah. Let's hear a couple of comments on here. Jacob Hauk saying that he loved Kyuhee Kwan, said, can we please get an adult short round Disney Plus series? I wouldn't mind seeing short round once again. Of course, I know he and Harrison Ford have reunited a couple of times in person since Kwan's got back in the business. So and it's been been lovely. We're not seeing his old buddy Indy again. So that's cool.
Did you get to see Everything Everywhere All at Once from last year? Okay.
Oh, folks, if you can't get more perfect of a movie than Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's literally got something for everybody in that movie.
It was so much fun seeing him come back. Another time travel, dimension travel, where he knows a lot of the answers. Things.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, we've seen a lot of multiversal stuff, and superhero stuff recently. And to see a different take on it, like it wasn't entirely original. Like it felt a little bit of the Matrix as well. But just their methods, their take on it was just, oh. So yeah, it was one of those like, I know a movie is great when I see it and I immediately want to own it. Like, it's not like, oh, I want to see that again. I was like, no, I will own this movie as soon as I possibly can. And so, so I own that movie now. So yeah, and it's a rarity too that I get to see, because a lot of times most of the movies I see, and when I specifically go to theaters, usually start with the word Star Wars or Marvel. So there's a lot of times the Oscar fare I don't get to see as often, or some I do.
Yeah,
especially if Christopher Nolan directs it, then I'm definitely gonna see that.
Mm-hmm.
But that one I didn't. We did get to see it in theaters. But it is just absolutely glorious. So Jacob's got a comment on here saying he needs an explanation of exactly what Loki is doing at the end. Is he just a power source, or is he mentally affecting stuff? We're definitely going to get to that, Jacob, because there's a lot to talk about at the end of the series here. So any comments or thoughts you've got before we get to the end of the series, Dave?
A couple things that I was expecting or maybe wanted to see.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted a high-speed jet ski chase. We got to see some jet skis, but seeing him out there would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I was wondering if on the many repetitions, if Timely would get some Kang scars on the side of his face, but he did not.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
he did not. Apparently at Disney Plus, I think this is on YouTube, but Disney Plus has released I think it's like a 10-minute looping video of Owen Wilson on a jet ski. So they did actually film Mobius on a jet ski, but they didn't include it in the show. But apparently you can watch him just, I think it's kind of one of those things like he's literally the camera's stationary, so it's not like he's moving around. Like he's, I don't know what it is, but anyway, it's him on a jet ski. So you can see Mobius on a jet ski.
Yeah. I would have liked to have heard one wow from Mobius in the 2 seasons. Just one,
Yeah. And I love too that he had, you see his home basically where he would have lived, or his home timeline. And he's got 2 boys, and they're both kind of they're both little hellions, but one listens a little more than the other, sort of thing like that. So it's like, all right, let's
almost like Thor and Loki with their dad.
Yep. A little bit like that, yeah.
Well, Miss Minutes is the most terrifying MCU villain, maybe behind the Purple Man a little bit, but oh my gosh, she is.
Yeah, that was a turn.
Yeah.
So we don't get to see Miss Minutes or Ravonna or Kang or Victor Timely really until episode 3. And then we get everybody in there. But Miss Minutes basically playing the jealous lover sort of thing. And, I'm in charge of this stuff, you're not, sort of thing. And that was, I love too when they end up finally shutting her down in episode 4. And then that last little glitch, you're never going to be him. And then, kicks off ooh, that's creepy.
And I like the ASCII art version of Miss Minutes that flashed there briefly. I was expecting more of a comeuppance for her. But then they brought her back. Is she going to take over and kill us? Maybe.
Not right now. She's, like her most basic version. So no.
Yeah.
But maybe later. I don't know.
And on episode 3, I really liked that the vaudeville piano intro music of the Marvel theme.
That was great. Yeah. Well, the whole show was basically that particular episode. Like the whole soundtrack was all vaudeville. Because even when we had like the chase scene and all the fighting stuff like that. It was so fun. Yeah.
I almost expected a Seth MacFarlane "Play Me Off, Johnny," kind of thing from Family Guy. So what was up with the incredible shrinking Brox? That was I guess it's like their version of a shredder. They just compress stuff. But oh man, what a way to go!
Yeah, that was brutal. Yeah, all those other rogue TVA agents, whatnot. So and it was great too. The one actor who was his action movie superhero roles was the Zaniac, and then what was it, episode 5? We get a glimpse of a video game, and then it's a Zaniac video game.
And that was the audio stinger as well. Was him? You died. Put another quarter, loser, or whatever. That was.
No, that was great.
That would have been amazing stinger at the end of episode 4 when everything blew up, and then you die, loser, as an audio stinger. Would have been wild.
Talk about a fan base freaking out after episode 4 came out, because everybody thought, like, is that it? Is that the end of the show? No, there's 2 more episodes, guys. No. We're breathe. You're warm. You're in a forest with Heather Locklear. You're okay.
Yeah. Well, they had just turned off the safeties that were preventing magic. So, Loki, he's going to be okay because he has magic again suddenly while he's at the TVA.
Yeah, exactly. So, but then Loki kind of develops his time travel abilities even further. And of course, we definitely see that in the finale too. But Jacob Howe was saying that the 1800s episode felt like a good episode of Legends of Tomorrow. I agree. It certainly did. Yeah. And Jacob says he could see a jet ski chase cameo in Secret Wars. Yeah, that would be good. So, but definitely let's talk about the ending here, because Jacob was asking about that, needing an explanation. Because so we get, of course, the whole episode is Loki trying to, remedy everything getting wiped out. Victor always is too late, or not fast enough to get out there and do the stuff. Even when he actually does it, it still doesn't fix things.
Yep.
So, there's all
Loki is trying to Groundhog Day a solution.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fascinating too. Just a great bit of acting when he finally asks, like, well, what's it going to take for me to learn, this science and learn how to do this? And they're kind of like decades, centuries, even. It's like and just kind of like centuries later.
Yep.
Wow. It's like, so how old is Loki now?
Definitely a few hundred years older than he was. And he was, same or similar age as Thor, who said he was around 1500 during Infinity War.
During Infinity War, yeah. So,
but now Loki, I assume, no longer ages as a result of his time powers, and he exists outside of time now.
Yeah.
Just like He Who Remains was.
And I love, too, when basically he's going out there, and his clothes are being stripped away by all the time, all the radiation, and then his magic is revealing his back to his green suit again, and then a new set of horns, and the horns even start getting a different look to them, almost very, very Celtic, because they look almost like tree roots as opposed to like just golden metal horns. So
good point. I did not think about a tree branch helmet. Very appropriate.
Yeah,
good call,
it really was. Man. Thank you. Yeah, steeped in Norse mythology, am I? So there you go. But essentially, what happens is in the comics now, Loki has kind of changed. He's no longer the god of lies. He's now considered the god of stories. Now,
I thought that's where they were going. I thought they were going to turn him into the god of stories, but they turned him into something else.
He still sort of is, because basically there are multiple stories, or multitude of infinite stories throughout the multiverse. So he still kind of is the god of stories, but stories can also contain lies as well. Lies are actually stories themselves. But there you But yeah, so literally Loki takes all the branches of the timeline. They're now kind of thrown wild now that this, the temporal loom has collapsed and just exploded and whatever else. So all the timelines were out hanging wild. Loki literally grabs all the timelines, forges himself a throne, and puts all the timelines together. He is now literally at the center of the multiverse.
Yeah,
so
almost like a Spider-Man in the middle of a web.
Exactly.
But now the web is the tree. I'm not entirely sure. Is he trapped in the tree, or like voluntarily trapped in the tree, or did he become the tree?
He sort of is.
Has
kind
he
of like,
always been the tree now, since it's an outside of time thing?
Well, it's basically it's kind of almost like a second Yggdrasil, because it's not. It's like a
not second. I think
multi-
this is the Yggdrasil. This is how it was formed, possibly.
Well, it had already been talked about in the other Thor films, and we'd seen it before as well. But
yes, but this had repercussions back through history. We saw the posters of the TVA change and lots. So, outside of time, he could have always been Yggdrasil. Was Loki inside these, holding the timelines in the shape of a tree?
Okay.
Empowering them with his magic to keep them alive. The timelines, his cape even became a bunch of timelines behind him. So he is, empowering the tree as its embodiment. Yeah,
so he's a little like the heart of it. So So that's a great catch there. But literally, like we have, he who remains at the end of time, but Loki is in the center of everything. So
in mythology, Loki was banished to live inside Yggdrasil until somebody sheds a tear for him.
Yeah, and he was hung upside down by his toes, and the world's the most venomous snake in the world was dripping venom, like a single drop of venom into Loki's mouth,
into his eyes. I thought.
That's right, into his eyes. Like once an hour or something like that. So it's like he was constantly being tortured in the heart of Yggdrasil. So this is a little bit different, a little nicer.
Yep. Well, what's interesting about the timelines and how Loki grabbed them, or they broke out of the loom, then they were everywhere. It ties back a little to string theory. The science theory that they're molecules and atoms and the subatomic quarks, everything is actually just vibrating strings of energy. And if they vibrate this way, then they're a solid thing. They vibrate this way, they're a different thing. And timelines are everything. Yeah,
absolutely. So. And see, this is another reason why I brought you on here, because you're the first person to talk about string theory on the Fanatic Forum here. So, love it. So what this definitely sets us up for, while we may not see a season 3 of Loki, the TVA, I'm sure, will pop up at some other point somewhere else. I certainly do too. But this definitely sets up Loki at the center of the Secret Wars, the upcoming Avengers film. So. There's of course, I talked about last week, the Marvel Studios has some options in play if Jonathan Majors, his legal stuff does not pan out in their favor. So if they have to replace him, or whatever the case may be, but if that doesn't happen, if he's cleared of the accusations, we have a Kang, nothing has to change. What I've said before about Secret Wars basically was very much a Doom-centric story, where they could essentially replace Kang with Doom. And in that story, basically, the entire multiverse dies. Doom saves everybody from destruction and kind of pieces together a single planet from the remnants of all the multiverse. So it's like a patchwork of everything.
But two people who do not die when all of reality explodes, one of them is Loki, because he finds a loophole in reality and just steps outside of the universe with his friend Verity, who is the Doctor, B-15 here.
And then
when everything disappeared and it all turned to nothing and strings, before his last time through, it left him in just a field of black. Oh my gosh, is this it? Are they doing that thing? Does he exist apart from everything now? But they didn't quite go there.
No, they didn't. And then, of course, a couple of members of the Fantastic Four basically are separate from this change as well. They're basically having a ship of Reed Richards making, So he loses Sue Storm, and he loses part of an arm as well, which was a little brutal. So
poor Ben had a really terrible fate in that.
Yes, he did. They literally turned him into a wall, a living wall. That's messed up. But
I was wondering about the places, all reality is falling apart. Would they have been possibly safe in the mirror dimension or in the quantum realm?
That's a good point.
Or at wherever it is that eternity hangs out to grant the wish.
Yeah, which basically is kind of like on the outside of everything. So yeah, that's a good point. And of course, too, there's all kinds of questions you can ask. Like, if for every multiverse or for every strand of the multiverse that's was destroyed, does it have its own quantum realm, and are those quantum realms still intact? Because if they're microscopic, then could parts of those still exist in particles that are just floating out in the ether? So
or is the microverse a shared reality among all the things?
Exactly. So we can get thick in the mud as much as we want on this stuff here.
I like the philosophical discussions between Sylvie and Loki about free will and playing God and the illusion of free will. And Loki had been saying that he was born for a throne. He's burdened with glory and purpose, and he certainly got some glorious purpose out of this.
And he certainly got a throne, and it wasn't the throne he was expecting.
Instead of being the king of the realms, now he's the king of time and space. That's a trip. Reality to a degree. He's almost his own Infinity Stone.
And it's interesting.
Is he really trapped by the illusion of free will, or does he have his own free will, or is this the road he has always been on? Has the new Loki maybe influenced past Loki to walk down this line? Like they said, like He Who Remains says, you can't get to the end until you've been changed by the story in the finale of first season.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great point. And the thing is, this could have been Loki's story all along, whereas basically, we start with one Loki, and then the story transfers to a different Loki that's sort of on the same path, but just at a different point in that path. And then basically that path branches at a different time. And so we get, basically a variant of a variant, essentially. So, so you can get some fascinating, deep discussions when it comes to Loki, really. And, of course, too, it was, especially in the finale, it's so heartbreaking with this whole, decision of, is he going to end up having to kill Sylvie because, he's going to kill He Who Remains. There's nothing he can do to stop her. So it's kind of, you almost think to a point like he is going to kill her, and then he decides, no, I don't have to, because there's this third option that no one's thinking of.
What if there is no loom? Just like what if there is no spoon?
What if there is no spoon?
Another great OB-ism that I loved was, we have a good plan. We have a pretty good plan. We have a plan.
We have a plan.
all in the same sentence.
I know. He doesn't want to sound too certain and whatnot, because, you can't be certain when you're talking time.
And it makes sense that he was a science fiction writer and a theoretical physicist.
I love it, too. And of course, the science fiction he was writing was the stuff he would be working on if he was in the TVA. So great stuff here. Jacob Pauk saying, Miss Minutes can replace Kang if need be. Yeah, no kidding.
Put Tara Strong in charge of all the evil in the universe. Yeah, she's good at that.
To think Tara Strong could play such a sinister role while still sounding delightful,
I'm working on myself.
I know. And then basically it looks like Ravonna is essentially stuck at, I don't know, maybe a sheet at a different point at the end of time, because she's
Eliath, the cloud void monster, was chasing her or coming up on her. We heard the scream, and we saw the change in the lighting as it started getting closer. But then she changed from terrified to resolved. You're to kind of frighten me, void eating thing.
So okay, so but it's still kind of open ended for her. I didn't see a body. Let's put it that way. So
there might be a whole bunch of Ravonnas at the end of time, just like all the Loki squads.
in a lot of Kang stories, Ravana has a lot of different variations.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite possible. So, but yeah, just I was I know I've talked to some people that was get some mixed results in the season of Loki, so it may have been a little too heavy and timey-wimey for people, but I absolutely enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'm a total time travel nut. I love it. Anytime it's in a story, I'm there.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes my wife, she likes time travel stuff as well, but sometimes things can get a little too complex depending on what the movie or the avenues they take. And I didn't, she didn't seem to have any trouble following things out. So I don't think it was too heavy or anything like that. It's just a matter of like, if you don't like timey-wimey stuff, then well, there you go. You're watching the wrong show, apparently.
Yeah. I really liked in episode 4. X5, Brad Wolf, when he was enchanted, to see him acting like Sylvie, acting like Brad. He did a really good job of that.
Yeah, that was a good performance. So, and it was really interesting to see kind of everybody's different lives they would have had. Basically, like X was B-15. She basically was a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, okay, that kind of makes sense with her because she had a bit of a soft
she was
touch.
the compassionate one. Yep.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, yeah, so everything made sense into it. So basically at this point, I love too that Curtis was basically the one of the 3 men who escaped from Alcatraz, and they didn't escape for very long, if I remember history correctly. But
he that was a real guy who really escaped and was never heard from again, just like they did the DB Cooper thing for Loki back in first episode last time or second.
Yes, his first. Yeah, yeah. So it was like I think first episode. I think
yeah.
They I think if memory serves, like they caught one of the other 2 that wasn't Curtis's character. But you're right. Yeah, the one that Curtis played. Yeah, they never caught that guy. But that's just great. So just seeing him play a rougher, tougher guy was interesting for one episode too.
Yeah, instead of being the nerd that he is, and you probably know he's the voice of the Rutherford in Star Trek Lower Decks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen Star Trek Lower Decks, but I'm familiar with the show though. So
yeah. I held off for a while because I was afraid it's going to be more on the vulgar, insulting type side, but no, this is done by people who love it. It's like the Galaxy Quest of cartoons, kind of. It's worth watching. Watch 1 or 2. I think you'll really like them.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I need to catch up on the Orville. I haven't seen the last season of that one, so it's to me, I think Orville is a great, loving tribute to Star Trek, but also while doing its own thing. So but I'm very excited to see where we see Loki next. But I'm convinced it's going to be within one of the 2 Avengers films, Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars, but very heavily involved. One thing we talked about, if you read the Secret Wars storyline, one of the kind of the hidden power source that God Emperor Doom uses is Owen Reese, the Molecule Man, who basically literally can control reality, molecules, everything. And he's the one kind of powering everything and is being trapped by Doom to do all that. So I could possibly see Kang doing that same thing once he gets control of the multiverse, is having Loki trapped, still holding on to whatever strands are left of the multiverse, but he's basically a prisoner of Kang. And so so it has to be freed by somebody who knows what's the right way of things, and then Loki is instrumental in bringing things back to normal. So
episode 4, after everything exploded, they held that black for like 4 or 5 seconds before any music or anything else happened. Almost like the end of Endgame, when they just stopped and then moved on, to the credits and things like that. Just let people sit there for a minute to let it settle. Very nicely done.
Yeah, and they I sat through the credits of every episode just to see if there's any kind of stinger scene or anything like that. And there was no music for that ending credits. So they really, you're right, they wanted to hammer home that everything died just now. But Loki was able to pop back
when they had the Crusher box killing scene. I thought it was interesting that Brad X5 looked away. Because he was, almost squished in a box earlier.
Right.
Ravana watched, She never turned away. Miss Minutes was enjoying it far more than anybody should.
Yeah.
But Ravana didn't turn away. She stood there and watched them all get crushed into nothingness.
Yeah, steely resolve on that lady there. Yeah, maybe that's why Kang likes her so much, man. She is.
Could be.
Yeah, we've seen, kind of like, in some of those flashbacks that they're playing, that Misfits played for Ravana, is that she's not afraid to make the hard and tough decisions, and even Mobius echoed that in his story in the finale. That Ravana is not afraid to make those tough decisions that everybody else just pauses on.
She did hurting that 8-year-old boy.
Yeah, he had no problem doing that. It's like, wow. Yeah,
but episode 5 to me had almost a Blues Brothers feel. I'm getting the band back together. I'm on mission from God. All of that, which was great because as Loki, he is, and some nice philosophy throughout, and a point of view in dialogues like Loki. Without my friends, where do I belong? Mobius says, "There's no comfort. You just choose your burden." Issues that are there for all of us, whether we think about them and acknowledge them or not.
Absolutely. So, yeah. That's why I love having you on here, man, Dave. You know how to bring it home.
An interesting bit at the end, the epilogue of the finale. A beef of team brings Mobius the file on the alternate victors. And one of them caused some ruckus on a 616 adjacent realm, but they handled it. Yeah. I'm wondering if he was talking about Quantum Mania, or if he's talking about the upcoming, but past for him, Kang Dynasty.
Ooh,
or it might even be part of the same thing.
Yeah,
maybe the micro Kang escapes, and that's where it comes from.
Very good. Yeah, and of course, He Who Remains in episode 6 makes a point of saying an upcoming multiversal war, so he's talking about Secret Wars. So we're teasing some big stuff coming up here, folks. So it's kind of like I know there's been some rough points in phase 4, and some people have liked it, some people haven't in certain points. And granted, there's been some stuff that's better than others, but what we're getting to is going to be some big stuff again. So we're gonna get back to an Infinity War Endgame level kind of events here pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to that stuff for sure.
Yep.
And of course, going to be watching the Marvels here. I got tickets literally in about an hour. So,
All right.
I think it's time to wrap things up here.
Yep.
But any
get out there and get to those seats, man.
Well, it's fortunately my theater is like 10 minutes away from the house, so I don't have to travel very far.
Excellent.
That's one thing about E-Town is while we have a lot of stuff, everything's still kind of like close together. So it's
true.
We're nicely compacted on each other here. But
I'll say that we saw in Multiverse of Madness, we saw Mr. Fantastic meet a bad end, but seeing the spaghetti here was much worse.
Yeah,
reality itself starts unraveling. We saw Victor, in his first run through, and in a hurry, bam, he was gone. But then seeing everything slowly fall apart when we saw Loki in the control room area, and then everything starts wiggling towards him. Ooh, that was really freaky. And then we saw more and more of it. It's got more terrible. The guy in the record shop. Oh man.
Oh, I know. The one that was really creepy was when Loki first meets Sylvia, and she's sitting there talking and whatnot, and then she set down like a bag of food, and the bag of food disappears, and you start to see it off camera. But then then the camera turns away. But the effects guys did a beautiful job because you could catch it in the rear view mirror of the truck.
Yep.
And you still see it, going away. And then of course, the temp pad that or the large temp pad that OB built, and that disappears, and you don't even see that disappear.
And even before that, Loki's drink disappears when Sylvie goes to the bar. His drink, he goes reach for it, and it's not there.
Yeah,
you didn't see it disappear; it's just not there anymore.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that creeping death sort of thing. Yeah, you're right. It's good creepy stuff there. So
a lot like the Thanos dusting stuff. But I knew what was happening. Just people were disappearing. But in this case, it's everything.
Yeah. So
just remember that, like Loki said, trying to fix what's broken is hard. Hope is hard.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well
Go out
said,
there
sir.
and do the hard thing, hope and fix.
Yes, indeed. So, and we hope we got some big stuff coming up for the MCU, and maybe it will fix audiences' opinions of things. See?
Hey, I was never down on it. Well,
No,
the Secret Invasion was a little so-so, but just about everything else I've loved.
I know. I'm a mighty Marvelite through and through, and I appreciate everything that's come through. I mean, granted, I admit, there's some stuff that's better than others, but I still have found enjoyment in everything that's come out.
Loki's new time travel Groundhog Day powers made me think a little bit of She-Hulk jumping through the remote control menu and jumping into the writer's room.
I know, that's great. I'm really anxious to see eventually looking forward to seeing a eventual Loki and Thor reunion at some point. And Thor seeing this brother of his that he barely recognizes because he's no longer an evil, conniving little guy, and he cares about people and cares about the multiverse and the bigger picture of things. It's like, wow, who's this guy?
Yeah, just like Thor told Loki in Ragnarok. You'll always be the god of mischief, but you could be so much more. Yep. And now he finally is.
Yeah. I tell you, that's just some excellent full circle writing there. They certainly pay attention to their little details of things. So, yeah, I'm certainly excited to see what's coming. I guess this year we'll get What If Season 2 is supposed to drop either Christmas Day or the week of Christmas, something like that.
I think Christmas Day, but it might be Christmas Eve.
Yeah, something along those, right around there.
Yeah.
But it's coming.
If you have not seen I Am Groot Season 2, at least watch the last episode. It's only like 4 or 5 minutes long. It's worth watching.
Yeah, I need to see Season 2. I've seen Season 1, and like I said, I think we talked about it. When you mentioned before on the in the comments. Yeah, that's a great series for kids because it's Baby Groot, and he's he gets into a little mischief. It's a short little cartoon. So yeah, if you guys haven't checked it out on Disney Plus, they're delightful. So,
but the final episode actually ties into some MCU stuff. So you should check that one out.
Nice. Yeah, I will definitely have to check that out. So, and of course, like I said, the Marvels, hopefully there's some big stuff happening in here. Big things tend to happen in space, so we shall see. But so I'm excited to check it out. So, well, sir, thank you so very much for being on the show here. I knew you'd be
always a pleasure, man.
About Loki. Absolutely. Yeah. So, and you guys, of course, go out there, enjoy Loki if you haven't got to yet, or if you spoiled everything for you, go check out the Marvels. All sorts of fun stuff to do, and for all of our geek pleasures here. And of course, we got some good things coming up next week, and for the next few weeks, we're going to be talking some movies. I'm going to dust off some ones you may have heard about or seen or always wanted to, whatever the case may be. So we'll do a little deep dive on a couple movies each week for the next few weeks. So that'll be a nice, fun thing. And I'll try to have some rotating guests as well here, or it may just be me. We'll see. But anyway,
You're going to give us a heads up on the movies so we can go watch them if we haven't already?
I certainly will. I know I picked out a couple already. I'm trying to get, since I talked about a lot about horror movies during the month of October, I'm trying to get stuff that either is basically other genres. And I'm doing one TV branch out too. If you've never seen the original Police Squad series that birthed the Naked Gun film franchise.
Yeah,
that's on the
list. So incredibly funny. And a lot of those jokes end up getting recycled into the Naked Gun movies. Yeah, one of my favorites. Can you describe the guy? He had a mustache, 6'4". That's a mustache.
Yeah. I know. I almost wish we still would have had a freeze frame in the Naked Gun in the Naked Gun movies, but yeah. I'm trying to get some action movies and some other stuff there, and one good old fashioned 80s sword and sandal movie that is a favorite of mine, The Sword and the Sorcerer.
Wow.
And this one has been unavailable for a very long time, but thank you very much to Shout Factory last year, released it on Blu-ray, in 4K even. So
To make sure I'm thinking, that's the one where Sean Connery's the Green Knight, or no, he's the other guy, the fights the Green Knight, right?
No, that's oh shoot. No, Sword of the Sorcerer is got Lee Horsley in it, and Martin Mull's in it as well.
Martin Mull, wow.
Yeah, well, he's a big monster guy.
Yeah.
He's playing
a Sword of the Valiant is what I was thinking of.
Yeah, Sword of the Valiant. Sean Connery is the Green Knight. Yeah, you're right.
A different sword movie.
Yeah, this is the one that had the triple bladed sword that basically had blades that shoot out. So if you if you remember anything about this movie, that's what you remember is that sword. Yeah. So yes, a wild and crazy sword and sandal flick, but it is a genre I absolutely love, and this is one that I don't think gets talked about enough. So so there you go. So there's your teaser for a couple of the weeks there. We'll be talking about the Police Squad TV series, which is only 6 episodes. So
and has more movies in a half-hour episode than most movies do. It's so many jokes. It's crazy.
Yeah, just peak Abrams Zucker brothers comedy. So so
another make you think gag. He's running a locksmith shop. Somebody throws a rock through the window, and it says "Ock Smith." Then later in the show, a guy with an ox comes by who needs a shoe for his ox. Are you the oxsmith? Oh no, I'm a locksmith. The window's broken.
That was a great thing too. They would land jokes and they just like put little landmines in there for you. Yeah. So anyway, that's some of the stuff we're going to be talking about in the next few weeks on the Fanatic Forum. So hope you guys join us then. Either way, like the videos, share with your friends, and join us next time on the Fanatic Forum. Yeah. Love you guys.
Make my Marvel Excelsior for all time.
Superior.